Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my job today to introduce Janice Khan to you. We normally have speakers who hail from a bank or an asset management company, but today we are delighted to have someone who works for an exchange to speak to us, a stock exchange. Better still, Janice is someone who hails from the derivative side of the business, having started her career at Cymex, for those of you who still remember Cymex. Janice is the MD and head of markets equities at SGX, and she currently oversees several things, including securities trading, post-trade services, cash and equity derivative products. Previously, she was responsible for other important areas such as market surveillance, audit, risk management, product development and management, and strategy planning. Janice holds a master's in applied finance from Macquarie University. She's also a certified financial risk manager, and she attended the Stanford Executive Program. She comes from the parish of St. Francis of Assisi in the Boon-Lay area. A financial career, while highly glamorous, is widely acknowledged as leading many practicing Catholics astray. The temptations are aplenty, and the numerous avenues available to make big bucks have led many to question the need for God. After all, they experience being the masters of the universe. So in today's sharing, Janice, who has many years of experience, is what is arguably, being in the paragon of temptation, evil, and greed. Is testament to the fact that it is possible to work in such an environment and yet stay faith-centric in the midst of such temptations. So I'm very glad to have Janice agree to share with us today. So I'll hand over the floor to Janice. Janice, over to you.
Thank you, Gerard, for the very kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'm very privileged to have this opportunity to share in this session. Most of us spend a good majority of our waking hours at work. Coming to the finance industry, there is a lot of myths out there, including those that Gerard has mentioned. We are indeed very blessed by God with the gifts and talents from Him to carry out our jobs in the financial services sector. My today's topic, Fan into Flame, the Gift of God, is meant to encourage everyone to reflect on our gifts and talents. As we shine at work, guided by our Catholic faith, we must also serve God by allowing our shine to transcend beyond ourselves to others around us. So if I may begin with this Bible passage taken from Gospel of Matthew. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. This is actually one of my favorite readings. It is very beautiful, a beautiful message. Simply put, with God's gift, we can be the light of the world. But importantly, our light is meant to shine for everyone. So how do we extend our gift generously to people, the community and the world around us, in the midst of things that we are carrying out, our duties and responsibilities, our careers? So I hope to examine and share with all of you how faith has interacted in my work. I will draw some parallels from the financial services industry, so we can make this session more relevant for a lot of us who work in this industry. Let me start with a little background on the organization I come from. Since Gerard mentioned, quite unique, right? There's only one stock exchange in Singapore. So I've spent many years working in both the stock and the futures market at Singapore Exchange. Some of you may know the organization well, that the exchange is unique because it has two diverse roles. On one hand, it is a market operator. There's frontline regulatory responsibilities, for the exchange to carry out. So like companies, products get listed on our platform for trading. The exchange governs all these activities through surveillance, and we police listed companies and members, for compliance with our rules. So that is the regulatory arm of the exchange. So on the other hand, we as the exchange, it is also a listed company, so you can actually buy our stock, yeah, like DBS or UOB Bank. So SGX is one of the listed on our own exchange, and as a listed company, we'll know it has commercial objectives. So we have to make profits. We pay dividends to our shareholders, just like any other companies. So immediately you will see that there might be no areas of conflict. So to avoid this conflict of interest, the first role, which is the regulatory role, is carried out by a separate independent entity known as SGX RegCo. Some of you may have come across this name in the newspapers. The second role is the commercial arm, which is where I come from now. It needs to work with this RegCo to conduct activities and implement any changes that impacts the regulatory aspects of the business. So having spent time on both sides, right, the regulatory and the commercial arm of the exchange, in some ways I see interactions between regulatory and commercial quite analogous to between faith and the material world. Yeah. So from my perspective, there are three key elements that I've chosen today that I think stood out quite strongly in the financial industry, and collectively they are actually my anchors um, for me in trying to live out faith at work. So the first one is on the legal and regulatory framework. So a very obvious element. It's a highly regulated industry. So banks, exchange, asset management, insurance company, you know that different acts and regulations imposed by the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Yeah, so exchange will be Securities and Futures Act. So we have like 10 different rule books, many practice notes and guidelines, just to govern all the activities that's happening in the public markets. So most banks and financial institutions have a large legal and compliance team to deal with this part of the work. Yeah. So it's like the foundation of everything. My Bible at work comes from legal and regulatory books at the start. So it guides what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. So some rules, most of us will know, are actually subject to interpretation. We call them points of difference or gray areas, some would say, which create a situation for regulatory arbitrage or a loophole which we may be able to exploit for commercial business. Therefore, here comes the role of legal and compliance. So for those who work in that area, you will know that there's a need to interpret the rules and probably make a judgment call, yeah, for compliance. So from a pure commercial angle, these are all due processes because it is about following the rules, right? However, I feel that having worked in this area for a long time, one occupational hazard that I find working in a highly regulated industry is the potential false sense of security. That everything is above board as long as legal, cannot be challenged. Yeah. So let me hold that thought and think about it. If it perpetuates and form habits in our daily conduct, it can be a problem because legal protection is not the only point of consideration. At least not when you have a faith. Yeah. So personally, I always find it very useful to have a robust discussion with the legal and compliance team whenever my inner self have doubts whether certain actions are at work is permissible. Yeah. So even when legal say no problem, you can just go ahead. But no, the inner voice that you have seems to suggest otherwise. Okay. And sometimes being frank and honest about it with legal and compliance, I find that legal opinions can be impaired. Yeah. Because there are things in play that you may not know, like balance of power. A senior executive asking a junior compliance officer, for example. Yeah, information asymmetry. I probably know more information than what the compliance manager knows. Or missing context, the experience that one has versus the other. So the onus is almost always on the more experienced, the more senior person to lay out the issues on the table. Yeah, especially a more junior person is sitting across. My mantra is pretty simple. I don't do anything just because there's legal cover that legal says okay, I can do it. But if I don't believe in it, so I guess I'll be honest with yourself. Listen deeply to your inner voice. So not legal, right? Not illegal. Sorry, should be like a minimum bar. Okay. So legality only demonstrates that no one did not act in bad faith, right? Because we are following the law, we did not act in bad faith. However, it is not exactly the same thing as acting in good faith. This is bad faith. No, not acting in bad faith. This is good faith because good faith is of a higher level. So you can challenge yourself to rise to the good faith, whenever the situation permits. Of course, not all situation you can find a good faith. You may be, yeah, you are in compliance with the rule and you are at peace with it. So from a legal perspective, right, there's also this notion of substance over form. We always hear about that from legal. And to me, that should be the true litmus test of faith at work. Question is like, I will ask myself is, when compliance say, okay to proceed, do I personally have reservations? Can I show good faith on this matter? So that is important to me when it comes to how I see legal and regulatory frameworks applying at work, with integrating with faith. So on reflection, Pope Francis' message for Lent earlier this year was exactly on point, right? For substance over form. The true litmus test for fasting is actually beyond food. My colleagues and I were going through this list during Lent, yeah, and we all agree that it's actually very difficult to meet. So end up we just pick one or two items every day, and we try to stick to these two that we want to fast from this, fast from hurtful words and so on. Yeah. So questions for ourselves is we have to ask is where is your litmus test at work? What would it be? Yeah. So this is the first element that I hope we can spend some time on at the breakout sessions. The second element is actually not really unique to financial services, but very important and very critical, is the duty of care. So this closely matches God's call on loving our neighbors as ourselves, right? So financial service practitioners, we have a duty of care to investors, to shareholders, and the exchange being a public market, we deal with both institutions and also the man on the street. So there is a high expectation around duty of care at work. Many of these responsibilities are also very explicit. For example, if you are a director, your duty of care is statutory responsibility to ensure that company is not involved in fraudulent activities. If you manage funds, some of you from asset management companies hold money in trust, you have fiduciary duties, ensure that trust assets are segregated from the house. Yeah, so don't touch the client's money. So unless it's for a specific purpose, so it's for investing in a portfolio that they have signed up for. So if your work involves even like onboarding a new client, your duty of care is do proper KYC, customer risk assessment. And like me, if you design products, then your duty of care is make sure that your product risk assessment is comprehensive and accurate, because that needs to be matched with the client's risk appetite. So how can I then extend this so explicit duty of care at work to others? Because after all, clients and shareholders are not the only key stakeholders in our lives. There are people, there's environment, our team members, other employees from other teams, larger community, the world out there. We do not really have an explicit duty of care that's written in any way that we have to fulfill. But certainly there's an implicit duty of care because of who we are, the faith we carry, our faith and our love for God. So will you then go this extra mile? I used to do this small experiment with my team. I call that like take one for the team. So the idea is to challenge someone, okay, to step up, do something that's not expected of them at work. But what they are going to do only benefits another team member, the team at large, or someone else in the organization. Why I do this? Because I treat this like a habit forming exercise. It is very simple, but the objective here is over time it can help to cultivate, shape the behavior, and the culture of caring beyond oneself. I must say at the start, a lot of discipline from everyone, right, to sustain this culture of caring, the duty of care towards one another. So imagine yourself, you are working in a high pressure environment. I'm sure some of you are. It may not be a natural instinct to think about caring because it's just too much work to deal with every day, right? Unless, of course, it is preceded by this desire to care in the first place. So we should always connect with our hearts to this desire and the duty of care as well, so that it can be reminded. A very good example would be like during this COVID pandemic, we know some industries are really badly affected, like the airlines, hospitality, and some smaller F&B business as well. Yeah. So in comparison, financial sector as a whole, yeah, is actually one of the least impacted areas. In fact, many banks and financial institutions, we are beneficiaries of the volatile market condition and are showing record performance and profits last year. Just look at the bank's stock prices. Yeah, it actually shows where is the confidence of the market and who are actually making profits for shareholders. So many companies have corporate social responsibility programs, help raise funds for the underprivileged. SGX, we have a bull charge program, and last year we raised a record more than $3 million, even under COVID, with many activities supported by employees across different parts of the organization. So when everyone comes together, yeah, you actually can benefit from that, from that ability to garner support. But beyond just the company that we work for, right? Supporting your own company, the activities, yeah. So as individual, Catholics, we should also reflect on our desire to care more for others around us, especially if we are in the ability to do so. Um, so in reflection, right, as we learn from Spider-Man in the movie, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, we can use our gifts and talents from God to make a difference. Question is like, what standards of care do I set to others? So if you are someone in power and has the ability to care, can you do more? Yeah, for the community, for others. Yeah, so this duty of care to me is also very important. In work as well as in faith, as you can see. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the third and final one. Mm, This is an interesting one. Some of you may not agree with me, but that's how I feel. So Singapore is a global financial center, all of us know, and one of our crown jewels, right, is actually of the economy. Despite our small hinterland, is our achievements in the financial sector. Um, Therefore, it's also the reason why financial innovation, to me, is constantly expected to keep up with competition. Be it a new product that is require a financial vehicle or even like platform capabilities through technology. Um, Increasingly, the the innovation needs to incorporate sustainability as an element because the world is just transiting into a different one. It's a circular economy going forward. The central focus will be on renewable resources and self-sufficiency. So how do I see that in the financial industry that I work for? Um, exactly in the book of Genesis, we are supposed to be fruitful, go forth, and multiply, right? Because this is what we read from the Bible. By my experience in the last 5 to 10 years is that this cannot be taken for granted for this industry because increasingly it is very difficult um, um, to find and attract and retain new talents from the millennial generation to a career in the financial industry. Um, I think perhaps the fact that no financial products are intangible, I can actually have an eye candy to show you. It's also not as fun like maybe like working in a tech company. Hey, you build some cool gadgets, or games. Yeah, so it's also not as noble as like, hey, I save the environment, the forest, or help animals or human lives. Yeah, so there's I think generation nowadays is looking for higher calling, and no one really fancy the idea of working long hours every day, which seems to be the poor reputation of financial industry. Right, need to work very hard, spend very long hours. Yeah, you have no life. So have you heard of the term work balance? Yeah, I actually heard it coming out more often than in the past. Yeah, not work life balance, work balance. Like prioritize your work, do this work or that work, but still work. Yeah, so it is actually quite alarming. Yeah, I think recently, some of the newspapers has also highlighted certain large finance institutions have this work culture, and it's very difficult for people to appreciate that they can be like this, for the entire career. So I feel there is a strong impetus, for the industry to improve, make change in a meaningful way, develop and renew talents. Because without this new blood, our innovation will stagnate. So most financial institutions, right, SGX included, we will have like developing high capital, right? Human capital, like is pretty important on the HR agenda. I don't know whether there's any HR person here, but I'm pretty sure this is number one priority for a lot of companies. And you design like formalized mentorship, coaching programs, courses, lots of things for career and personal development. Yeah, to make sure that people feel that they are being developed, in their career and has the ability to progress. Um, so some HR programs are quite exclusive. You have to be identified talents, or you need to be a high performing employee, right? Like the 3x3 grid. A lot of the companies use that. Are you high performing? Are you high potential? Yeah, so that class is like, okay, well taken care of. That what about the rest, right? So HR cannot be the one solely responsible for sustaining this talent development in an organization. Um, I think there's a big space that individuals can help to fill and advocate at work. For me, I'm a high believer, big believer actually of mentorship and coaching. Yeah, and I would say some of the mentees that I have worked before, they are not on any HR program, and some even not from my team. Yeah, so I was interested mostly because some of them I see my younger self, and it's you kind of want to help them because it's very fulfilling to guide, watch, and follow their journey, like watching a child grow up, going through their milestones. There is, in a sense, love and deep connection with faith. When you are able to do this wholeheartedly, yeah, not compelled by HR, not compelled that you're being rewarded because you are a mentor or coach. Yeah, this is just part of um, part of me growing up in an organization, part of me looking at my own faith and how I can help in my own way. As a woman, I'm also a strong advocate for gender diversity. So in the early days, right, before stock and futures market moved from trading floors to electronic, actually the community is very, very skewed towards male, right, men on the floor, because especially for frontline roles. Now, half of my team are women, and half of my team leads are women. So women leadership is rising. Yeah, so as a woman, I advocate for that, and I think it's very complementary, in a way that men needs to go for reservist, women can go for maternity. Yeah, so it is, and I feel having a more balanced and diverse group, there are many attributes that one can learn from the other. Yeah, and that's how I feel. There's a chance for the team to be more rounded and robust, and be a high performance team. So the last point on this uh, financial innovation, I believe there's going to be a strong pivot towards responsible investing. Yeah, so it's not about investing for money, only. It's not about how do I make more money. It's about where do I allocate my resources, meaningfully and for a higher cost. So the three letters, right, ESG stands for environmental, social, governance. I'm personally excited by the opportunity to co-create ESG-centric investment and risk management solutions together with partners in the industry. So sustainable investing, if you think about it, is actually investing in a progress. Companies that are pioneering better ways of doing business, reducing carbon footprint, using less energy, for example, they should be positioned to grow in the longer term. And with the right financial assistance and tools, the exchange where I work from can be advocate for assets and resources to be directed to support the growth of these companies. Of course, all this can be achieved only if the industry comes together, because the exchange doesn't exist on our own, and investors must also be educated to understand additional metrics. It's not just absolute returns, relative returns, and Sharpe ratios. It's a lot more. It's like what is the carbon footprint of this company? What are the activities, measurable activities that we need to know about this company before investing in them. So ESG disclosures at this point is still needs to improve and enhance for better kind of information, sustainable information to provide to investors, because that's the only way to educate and inform them of new things that they can think about when it comes to investment. So for the exchange, we just launched this first platform, FIRST. It stands for Future in Reshaping Sustainability Together. Quite cool, right? This champions sustainability efforts within the financial industry in partnership with everyone, the regulators, investors, buy-side companies, issuers. Yeah. So we hope that by starting this initiative, we can make the financial industry look more with a human heart, right? Besides from just about money. So we truly believe that economic growth and sustainability are interdependent, and everyone in this ecosystem can actually contribute to this cause. So in reflection, consider in your own ways what contribution can you make towards sustainable innovation at work. Yeah. So sometimes I have one colleague who just don't like us to use paper cup and plates, for example. So she insists that must use things that is washable, and she actually buy an entire set of the the reusable cutleries for all our events, or celebrations that we have in the office. Of course, these are not possible to use now, with COVID. They are stashed away, so we hope to one day use them again when we have ability to have larger celebrations within the organization. So we should think about that at one of the in the breakout sessions as well. So I would like to conclude with this slide, right? Fan into flame the gift of God. The central theme of what I would like to express in this short sharing is do not neglect your gifts. How do you be the light that is not hidden? How do you use your gifts and talents generously? Yeah. Because this is the way we serve God, by using our gifts and talents generously. So I hope my sharing today can help shape and define your own faith compass. Everyone has our own. It's very hard to say I can take yours and it's mine and so on. So we have to define our own. Everyone shines with his or own lamp, but collectively we create a better and brighter environment for everyone. Yeah. So consider also absolute standards versus relative standards. Challenge is always to try and raise to the higher common denominator whenever we can. And the last thing I want to say is the journey to deepen our faith, whether at work or in our personal lives, is actually a process. Yeah. So in this process, as we connect our faith and discover the courage to achieve a higher purpose, or move ourselves to achieve a higher calling, may we also find peace and make peace with ourselves for our decisions, for what we have done and what we can do better. Thank you. Praise the Lord.
Thank you, Janice. That was really insightful. I really like the fact that you not just go through the entire gamut of things, but also provided a framework, which I think is very helpful. Bankers and financial industry people like models, right? And algorithms and all these things. So the framework is really, really helpful in terms of looking at it in terms of sanctifying one's work. And I think how you live it within the context of the situation and the industry that you're in. Um, I like the fact that it's a Christian intentionality, where you put yourself at a much higher bar, or a bar that you could actually face yourself with at the end of the day. And more importantly, it's really around the advocacy, right? And how you're able to influence the people around you. Really, really impressed. So thank you for sharing. So let me just start maybe with a question, right? This has been burning with me. Do you think that um, you said about the 10 rule books, right? I almost fell off earlier. I'm glad that we only have the 10 commandments, right? Like, it'll be worrying to have the 10 rule books, right? It will scare people away. But I think the question really is around, do you think that the industry need more rules, or do you think that's less rules, right? And I think a second one would really be around a follow up to that would be, are the rules protecting the financial institutions or the man on the street? And let me just link that with Michael's question, which is, given that the cost of getting licenses and certifications for MAS regulation is both rigid and costly, how can fintech companies? So I think it's about barriers to entry and all these rules provide. So it's really around, do we need more or less? Is it protecting the right parties? And how is it helping or stopping innovation?
Okay, these are all very, very sharp questions. It, I think any rules that are out there, especially for financial industry, where I mentioned like duty of care, or these are critical, to high trust, high integrity environment. The rules or regulations, they are meant to protect both the institutions themselves, and as well as the man on the street. But there is usually a slight skew towards the man on the street, because that's how the law protects the man who is weaker than large financial institutions. So as I shared earlier, rules generally provide the minimum standard. So that's how man on the street will be protected, because it puts everyone on the level playing field. You have to meet these standards, otherwise this is not it's not in compliance with the license requirements. Yeah. At the same time, if the rules are not set up appropriately, there's a moral hazard, right? Because everyone just raised to the bottom, right? Meeting the minimum standards. So thankfully, I see the rules in Singapore and in many developed countries. They are of reasonably high standards and well drafted. And this helps to mitigate areas of regulatory arbitrage or points of difference. However, if you work in emerging markets, then the rules are different. We need to be more careful when dealing with markets where legality is ambiguous. So the question is not really we need more or less rules. It's important that they are relevant for the current day. So this is probably Michael's question, right? Fintech. So when all these rules are written, right, actually no one really knows that fintech is coming, right? So obviously some rules may need to be tailored. And in this sense, I think MES has been quite aware, because I've actually dealt with many regulators in different parts of the world. And really MES knows what they are doing. They actually read quite widely. And they will try to make changes that make Singapore's financial market relevant. Yeah, so for the fintech industry, a couple of years back, MES did this sandbox thing, where fintech companies can come and try certain things within parameters for them to explore some rule expansion, which the traditional act may not be able to take care of. Yeah. So all I want to say is many rules are actually written years ago, under a different environment, and over time it needs to be refreshed.
Thanks, Janice. There's a question that came from Trillion, right, which I thought was very interesting, which is, how do you pick up the courage at the end of the day, it's all about courage, right? It's easy to shy away, not say anything. I think the word is acquiesce, right? I couldn't pronounce it properly, but it's
Yes.
acquiesce. Meaning you don't say anything, you let it pass, right? How do you find the courage to speak up when things feel wrong, right? Especially for people who are more junior, and perhaps even more importantly, to your seniors, right? To people who have the what, authority to fire you, right? How do you do so?
For me, I think faith plays a very big role. When I was more junior in my career, um, the tendency to want to speak up is less because no, there's a lot of things at stake, obviously. However, it is also in my in my DNA that I cannot bear to continue doing something or not do something when things are not right. So when I'm more junior, I find other ways. No, I don't avoid it, but I probably find a longer rounded way, to get to the point that I want to go. And with that, I guess it gains more confidence. It's about practice. Yeah. So once people see that actually you have a point of view, they will be willing to listen. And most importantly, you have to actually always be on both sides. What I mean is that if you challenge, for example, a legal opinion, whenever it's not in your favor, you should also sometimes challenge why is it in your favor. So I think then people can see that no, you actually have a thought process, right? You just don't challenge anything that's just against you. Yeah, that's very natural. But if you challenge something that is in your favor, actually it gives a lot of integrity, to where you come from. But of course, you must have the substance of challenge, your logical thoughts and why you think that no, this is not right. Even legal say, yeah, perfectly fine, go ahead. And then I say, no, I think we need to consider this 3 or 4 points. Give some experience in the past that you see this may come in. Yeah. So it's regarding what you think about substance over form, which all the legal people will understand, and also the part is like good faith or bad faith. Yeah. So for me, it's like if I can try to rise to good faith, I would really want to. But in some situations, you just can't. No? Not being bad faith, not illegal is already very good. Then you have to just stick with it. Yeah, but there are areas where we can always be better. Yeah, like put a few more disclosures, things like that, to help people understand, especially if you are dealing with laymen on the street. How can we use simplified language? No, not the legalized. No, sometimes actually there's only one point, but no, legal will give you like 10 sentences. Actually, we have to think from the recipient point of view. It's like, are we getting the message across? Yeah. So yeah, in a way, I think the comfort of doing both sides, yeah, over time, just give me the courage. Of course, with God's gift, and my faith for Him.
Thanks, Janice. I think this is a follow-up question to that, which is from Paul. And Paul, thanks for the question. And I encourage everyone to write in your question. Paul's question is around, can you share how you resolve a situation when there is a conflict between your faith and what is beneficial to the organization?
Yes, this is not easy to answer. A lot of things I do quite confidential. Let me see how I could share it. Okay, maybe the process I can share, but not the content itself. Yeah. So when I feel that there is a commercial objective, yeah, that that I want to achieve really very hard. Maybe that yes, that's my KPI. If I meet that, wow, I can get promoted. Let's say, there are situations like this. But I know it's not something that I really wanted to do because it's against my faith. I would say most of the time I walk away. Yeah, I would rather not get it. Yeah, but if it's good for the company, for example, um, there may be other people who are able to lead it. Yeah, I would be very happy to relinquish that project to someone else. Yeah, so I think that's you can say that is avoidance in a way, but I think that's the only way that I can do if it's really deeply against my faith. Yeah, but I will do one thing. which I've done it before, is the new project manager who takes over that project. I will actually send him my long list of reservation. Yeah, so just for his background, like what he should watch out for uh, on the project that he's handling, and then of course, wish him the best. Yeah, so it's not very easy to do, and sometimes hard to explain as well. But I think most time, if you are honest with yourself, uh, then I think at the end of the day, like I say, you have to make peace with yourself, your own decisions. Yeah, and not try to let other people's uh, no judgment influence you. Yeah, because ultimately you are an organization for that long. You have a reputation. You have your own guide rails, and no one can take that away from you.
That compass and guardrail was very useful, right? I think I'm not sure if everyone would agree, but it's probably useful for everyone to just reflect on your own, not to be shared, just to look at what are your guardrails. There was this book that I was quite impressed with, which is The True North, right? Which is a secularized version of the guardrails and the framework that Janice had shared. Let me just, maybe this is the last question, and maybe we'll have one more after this. This came from Diane. My guess is Diane works in HR. Is that correct, Diane? Uh, the question really is around millennials, right? And the work balance, and basically the difficulty to retain millennials via this culture. And I think her question was really around if you have any useful or practical tips to push existing teams or millennials with continued motivation and making financial services still an attractive sector. I think that's really true. No, a lot of the millennials are not as attracted to the financial services sector as it used to be, and I think a lot of that has to come down to the impression on the work-life balance and many of the things that you actually have to make difficult choices with in the financial services sector. So I'm just wondering. I think Diane, I hope I captured your question well enough, but really it's around how do you attract the millennials, particularly with this perception. Diane, it's correct, right? Thank you, Diane. Right.
Okay, so for millennials, right? Thankfully, I have one very good coach. That's my daughter. She's turning 16 this year. So all the millennials know how to think of what is on top of their mind, or what is important to them, what is not. Is actually um, I see a lot of things I can learn from her. And with this knowledge, actually dealing with millennial colleagues, um, I feel I'm much better equipped. Yeah, so than I was five years ago. Um, for them, their need for a higher course is very high. Yeah, like no, I need to. It's not about just money, but it's like why am I contributing? No, why am I doing the piece of work I'm doing? Yeah, so I don't know if anyone have heard about this golden rule. Simon Sinek had this golden rule. The center core of the rule is why. Yeah. So a lot of people have passion in the work they do. It's because they can answer this question why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Yeah. So I help to um, at least instill some of this in my millennial colleagues. And some of my mentees, when I usually take mentees that are under 30, mainly because I feel it helps them to know that someone else in the organization at a relatively senior level actually cares for them. Yeah, so I think that part, it can't be, there's no shortcut for that. There's no like programs that you can suddenly, wow, I'll be very passionate about certain things. A lot is about connection, um, very much like evangelizing for faith, trying to tell someone about Catholic faith and so on. So it's a process. HR SGX HR had this program on mentorship, and they identify employees where they think that they will want to groom them in the company for the longer term, and are able to have succession planning and so on. So they tend to match make the mentors and the mentees. But like I said, it's usually not enough. Yeah. So around you, we sometimes just have to look out. Like, okay, there's somebody else needs a little bit more guidance. Yeah. So actually, the better ones are ones that's not in your team. because you are very independent, and it's just providing a voice of guidance to the other party, and sometimes they appreciate it as well. Yeah, especially how to navigate between the teams. Like they have something to say, but the boss doesn't agree. How can you put things across, without sounding offensive? Yeah, yeah. Millennials are very straightforward. You realize that they just say they want what they are, what's on their mind, and sometimes it's not helpful. Yeah, so we're like, why are you so rude? Actually, no, they are not rude. It's like they have been taught to vocalize when they are young. Yeah, not like our days where like our teachers ask us to keep quiet, right? Keep quiet. Only the teacher can talk. So now they are very different. Yeah, so we also need to progress with times, and how to connect with them. Yeah, how to make them feel passionate about the work, and there are many activities beyond work that can do that. Like be involved in the company's corporate social responsibilities. If they have a religion or faith, be involved in those activities as well. So that's also important. So to let them know that although work is very important, yeah, because that's how you are defined in the company, but as a person, you're actually defined more than that, more than the work that you produce. It's the whole person. So many times you'll be surprised that a lot of millennials do other things like volunteering work, church activities elsewhere in the organization, but it's kept on a very, very low profile. Yeah. But doesn't mean it's not done. So I have to like tell them that, hey, you're doing great things. Yeah. So you have to see the life as a balance, and not just like I don't like this part of work. It's like so much work. Yeah. So it comes with the good and the bad.
And thank you, Janice, for the wonderful
Thank you,
sharing
everyone.
and very, very insightful and things that are coming from the heart. So really appreciate that.
As you are aware, CBN is not a funded organization. We have to rely on generating our own funds, and we run all our programs free of cost. So if you, in order to help us continue such programs, please help us with any love offerings that you can make. You can open up your banking app and scan this QR code, or do bank transfers, or send us a check. Thank you. Dear friends of CBN, thank you for tuning into Catholic Business Network's Connect series. If you found this video helpful, please click the like button. And if you are new to our channel, do follow us on all our social media platforms and click on the subscribe button and the bell icon to get a notification whenever we post a new video. Thank you and God bless.